Alright, what is up guys? Welcome back to another Zoids review, and today I have two wind-up kits here. I like doing the wind-up kits sometimes in double reviews, just to kind of get them all together, and a lot of times they are Zoids that have less storyline impact, so it's a little bit easier to talk about both of their character bios at once. But these are two wind-up kits that were never localized into the English Hasbro version and exist exclusively in Japan. So we're going to be taking a look at the Snipe Master and the Buster Tortoise. So these are, like I said, both wind-up kits, and I got them off of some collectors who were selling off their collection of NJR kits. And I've already talked about the Cannon Tortoise quite lengthy in that review, which is pretty old now, where I reviewed both the Hasbro wind-up version and the HMM version. And there also is an HMM version of the Buster Tortoise, and I wouldn't mind having that, but I have to be pretty careful about which HMMs I buy from now on because I'm running out of room. So I decided not to get the HMM Buster Tortoise, but it is quite nice. It has a lot of the really awesome engineering that the Cannon Tortoise does, while having the color deco and the weapons of the Buster Tortoise. But basically with the lore, the Buster Tortoise is more or less just a specialized, elite, anti-armor, anti-structure version of the Cannon Tortoise. The Cannon Tortoise was already a pretty versatile light infantry Zoid used by the Healing Republic, much like how you have the Command Wolf Mark II and the Shield Liger Mark II and the Bear Fighter and all that. This, I guess, would technically be like the Cannon Soldier Mark II and would be deployed in squadrons just like that. As you can kind of see from the color deco, it does bear a similarity to those other Zoids. And I really wanted to show these two off together because I did another run through Zoids Battle Legends. I think it was late 2021 or late 2020, if I'm not mistaken. And I learned something really interesting, and that is that the Cannon Tortoise in those games is actually really, really good if applied under the right circumstances. And while the Buster Cannon on top doesn't add a whole lot of versatility to it, it is rather strong, but I found out the Snipe Master is also really, really good, and a lot of that comes from the use of these flexible booster weapons, which are both equipable on the Snipe Master and the Cannon Tortoise. And in order to equip the flexible boosters onto the model kit here, I would have to take off this peg down here, which controls the arm of the cannon. That's normally where the regular guns would go. They would go back here on the regular Cannon Tortoise, but they've been moved to the front, and the cannon has been attached back here. And then the same thing here on the Snipe Master, where they just kind of attach on a peg on the side here. And they have a lot of range of motion and articulation. They have some cool moving parts to them on the model kit. But these are actually a customized parts kit you could buy separately, but the Snipe Master that I purchased came with it already. Alright, so I want to talk about the Snipe Master in terms of lore. So the Snipe Master does not appear in any of the anime series at all. It's strictly a lore Zoid tied into the battle story and the video games. So in the battle story, the Snipe Master was developed as one of the many Zoids engineered late in the battle story during the conflict between the Gylos Empire, not the original Xenobus Empire, and it was deployed during the Dark Continent of Nyx campaign. And its purpose was to be a dedicated sniper Zoid so that the gun snipers, which they had a numerous quantity of, could be frontline infantry and replace a lot of the older, more obsolete frontline infantry like the Godos. So if you think about it, the gun sniper probably has greater customization for different types of weapon configurations and is faster. So if you're going to have something that's a grunt or a cannon fodder, it's probably better suited to the task than the old, extremely obsolete Godos by that time. But the Snipe Masters were not as effective as originally planned, so they had a hard time against the Prozen Knights. The Iron Kongs obviously were a big deal, but even the Hammer Rocks, which were the support infantry for the Prozen Knights, proved to be too heavily armored for the Snipe Masters to easily defeat them. Not to mention the Dark Continent of Nyx had infamously very rocky and hazardous terrain, which made it difficult for the Snipe Masters to line up a clean shot, and so they were not as effective as the Republic was initially hoping for, but unfortunately this would be the last battle they would really see any play with, because after the Bloody Death Sword detonated, it wiped out both armies, and the that was all that was all she wrote for the Snipe Master. There were no more left, or no more lines of them being commissioned, and so it was essentially retired after that, which is unfortunate, but a very cool Zoid nonetheless. Other than that, it sees a lot of prominent use in the Zoids Versus games as one of the special Zoids for the Blue Unicorn faction. I believe it belongs to Zan, or it might just be like, hey, whoever wants it can pilot it kind of thing. But there's several missions in Zoids Versus 2 and 3 where you can pick between a gun sniper and the Snipe Master, and the Snipe Master is usually going to be better every time. The sniper capabilities of the Snipe Master versus the gun sniper are virtually the same. They didn't really do anything different gameplay-wise with them. Their rate of fire, damage, turning axis in the sniper mode is pretty much exactly the same. But the difference is that the Snipe Master has a dedicated melee weapon in its claws up front here, which are called the Zan Smasher. And then it has just a greater array of close-range offensive weapons that it can equip, such as the Flexible Booster, which makes it an honestly very versatile Zoid, which I highly recommend. And the Flexible Booster is honestly so good that I'm tempted to see just how late in that campaign you could use either of these two Zoids with the Flexible Booster and still get by, unless the game makes you change which Zoid you're using and doesn't let you pick that one, but I don't think it ever does that. Onto the model kit itself with the Snipe Master. So there are a couple of different configurations with the Snipe Master. There's only 3 different models ever released for this guy. There is the original, which has a very Heroic Republic blue color scheme to it, not very close to anything we'd seen before, like the Command Wolf or the Shield Liger or anything like that. It really is kind of off there doing its own thing, but it's an easily recognizable blue Heroic Republic color scheme. Then we have this variant orange one, which is meant to be the Blue Unicorn special, as seen in Zoids Battle Legends or Versus 2. And then finally we have this one. Now, I didn't intentionally seek this one out when buying a Snipe Master, but as it turns out, this is probably the most exclusive and collectible one out of the 3, which is the Dinosaur Museum exclusive one from 2005, otherwise known as the Bone Snipe Master. And this is the exact same line that brought us the Bone Genosaur and the Bone Gun Sniper as well, which were then later made into HMMs. And I did a review on the HMM Bone Genosaur out of my friend Brad's collection, which you guys can check out on the channel. Now, hopefully one day this will get an HMM version. I would really love to see that, especially now that we really are in the territory of other less common Zoids that are not from the anime, such as the Koenig Wolf. I would really love to see a Snipe Master HMM, and I would definitely pick one up if they decided to make one. I don't think from an engineering standpoint it would be too hard, but you would be making a lot of new pieces not previously seen on the Rev Raptor or the Gun Sniper, so it would be an entirely new mold for what is essentially another, Velociraptor style Zoid. So a couple of cool pieces of functionality here on the kit here. It has this nice bladed toe configuration right here, which I'm sure these toes are meant to come forward and lock it into place when it's in sniper mode, similar to how the Genosaur has its sort of support pieces. The claws move a little bit, but they don't really do a whole lot. I'm not even sure they're supposed to do that, really. Of course, the mouth opens and the cockpit opens up here. Now, actually, in lore, there's supposedly a crew of 2 operates this thing, and the second pilot is located back here, who is a dedicated sniper. And they actually have a unique little pilot mold for this guy where it's somebody laying down in the sniper position, which I think is really, really cool. So unlike the Gun Sniper, which had 1 pilot, this could have a crew of 2, which is maybe more or less efficient depending on how you look at it. And of course, the sniper tail itself has a little bipod and an extending barrel, which elongates out like that, which is just looks really, really cool, is very reminiscent of a sniper rifle, and you can have this cool oscillating, reciprocating barrel action, this kind of action going on here, which is just really, really cool. And then that tucks away nice and neat back there. And much like the Gun Sniper and the Rev Raptor, the wind-up motor does have a separate piece that pops off and becomes the crank to it. But I would say compared to those other 2 Zoids, this one is definitely the most subtle and integrates very well with the rest of the kit. And Like I said, the flexible booster, it articulates at the hinge where it connects, and it has another hinge up here. This piece up here can move up and down, and I think the barrel can... No, maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, I'm not sure why it's called. It can also rotate left or right. So I'm not really sure why it's called flexible booster, but it definitely lives up to the name. And like I said, if I were to take off the pegs on the Buster Tortoise here and take the whole cannon section off, the flexible booster can be equipped to the cannon Tortoise and Buster Tortoise as well, which is why I brought this one out to kind of talk about that. But yeah, that's about all there is to talk about with the Snipe Master, unfortunately. I do plan on doing more Zoids versus content where I play as this guy, because now that I know that he's actually good and not for the sniper gimmick, I definitely plan to break him out and use him a lot more often and realize his true potential. And then if you're looking to pick any of these up, good luck. They are both old, out-of-print Japanese exclusives. The Buster Tortoise is probably going to be a little bit easier to find. I probably wouldn't pay more than $50 for the Buster Tortoise, but I've seen the Snipe Master go for as much as $120, $140 online recently, and I don't know if that is indicative of the value of this bone version or if that's just any of them. But because it was a kit that was never localized in the US, it is a lot harder to come by and a lot more sought after by Western collectors for that reason. So that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.